those of you who may not know, I'm the executive director of Norwood Together. We are sponsoring tonight's get-together. A get-together, the idea of the get-together was for community members to come out to get to learn more about what's going on in the city and to get to know your neighbors. So we want to thank each of you all for coming out. I think everybody saw, but if you are so inclined, there are some snacks in the back, of course, and drinks, water, and soda. And of course, putting this together would not have been possible without our staff from Norwood Together. So I would like to, first of all, recognize several people. And I would like to start with the three individuals that are in the back that you see back there, even though they're quiet. Andrew Guthrie, Matt Kripka, and then Jess Shepker. And they are all students at Xavier University, but we're very thankful for everything that they do to really help put these programs on. Next, of course, I would like to, for the board members who are here from Norwood Together, if you would stand, please. Thank you very much. So we have Mr. David Thompson, of course, our board president, Mary C. Miller. And so thank you all for all of the work that you do and the time that you take to help make Norwood Together a great organization. Certainly one that I'm proud to be part of. And of course, next we have the council members and staff from the City of Norwood, if you all would kindly stand. Noah. Councilmember Susan Hoover and our Safety Service Director, Noah Powers. Well, we're saving the best for last. So I do have a few announcements, however. One of the ones that I would like to announce first, and you may see these on your table, but this next week coming up is the Martin Luther King Week of Service. The 20th is a day of service, but it says to be part of the week of service. And there are several organizations that if you have not considered being or helping, assisting, these are the ones that you could be part of. Baby Bear, Dress for Success, Zion Food Pantry, Norwood Together, New Vision Missionary Baptist Food Pantry, Norwood Parks, and Focus Cincinnati. Now, it's very important, but if you have this card on your table, you will see a QR code. So if you could please just give that a screenshot, you will be able to sign up there. So please make sure that you do that. It's obviously very important. It's invaluable for all of these nonprofit organizations, and they definitely appreciate and value your support and your volunteerism. Next, now every year, this is one of our big events, of course. In February, it's the last Thursday in February, we have our Gems of the Community Awards. I would like to not only encourage you to come out, but also to nominate a volunteer. This is the opportunity. Last year we recognized 17 different volunteers who have helped make Norwood a great place to live. And so this is what we would like to do again this year. Your nominations are greatly appreciated. Again, if you have one of these sheets, I know there are a few on the back table, but we also have a QR code there. Please feel free to nominate someone. The awards will be held at the Ventura, 4551 Montgomery Road. And as I said, it will begin at 5:30 on Thursday, February the 27th. The nominations, by the way, will be open until February the 3rd. So please make sure that you do get that in. I'm going to look back to our board president because I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Are there any other announcements? Pardon me?
We have a school board member here.
We do. That's absolutely correct. Thank you very much. Ms. Rarica, would you please stand? Yes. Who, by the way, I really do, yes, thank you for reminding me, because she just got out of a board meeting. So that really means a lot, because that tells me what's important to her. And I know that this community is very important to the Rarica.
And if you want the information about the Gems of Community Award celebration, just go to our website.
Yes. Oh, yes. You can go to the Norwood Together website. And there's also one other thing, and I did not want to forget this. I know that probably everybody in here knows about it, but unfortunately, there was a fire that occurred last night. And I'm pulling out here because I wanted to make sure that I got the information. I do know that there is a link. I saw a Group Me page, and in that I saw several links. One was for a GoFundMe page for the Kingsleys, and then I saw another one. There's a Sign Up Genius for school drop-off and pickup, and then there is a meal train at mealtrain.com. If any of you, if you haven't been on any one of those, I mean, I'd be more than happy to share with you what I have so you can see me before the end. But if you already have gotten onto any one of these, I know that they would greatly appreciate it.
And it's posted on our Facebook page.
That's true. Yes, it's also posted on our.
At the school board meeting, their child was a rising star. I thought it was amazing when they were there. They said they needed something to celebrate.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So I know that they would absolutely appreciate all the support that they can get to adults for children. So if there is any way that you can help or contribute, it would be greatly appreciated.
And Ron, the Group Me is what they said to share widely.
Okay.
So like any other groups you can think of that might be interested, that's like the landing page for everything.
Right. And I did see that well over 100 people had already joined that. So thank you for that. Okay, well, I tell you what, because we're a community here, are there any other announcements that maybe I wasn't even aware of? If not, then I can say that yesterday I had the privilege of being at the Chamber of Commerce meeting where we heard Mayor Schneider's State of the City address. I can tell you it was not only exciting, but I was very encouraged by what I heard. And there were a lot of things that were said there, but I just appreciated the vision, and I was so thankful that he was willing to share it again tonight so that you all, the public, would have a chance to hear it. Also, by the way, as I'm saying that, I really want to thank Norwood Community Television as well for being able to televise this. But I'm very excited about it, and so without further delay, I introduce you to Mayor Victor Schneider.
Thank you. All right. I was told there were a couple of things. When I did this with the Chamber of Commerce, I had a suit on, right? And it's really on this level up here with the Chamber of Commerce, but this is a little bit more friendly group here, and it's a little bit more laid back, right? Now, the Chamber of Commerce one took 2 hours. Okay, an hour and 55 minutes. I cut it back a little bit for this meeting. It'll only be an hour and a half. Okay, and I was also told that the camera people, like Tyler back here, really likes it when you pace around a lot, and so I'll be moving back and forth constantly because that's perfect for what he's doing, so not really. So I'll go through this. I will say if there's something that jumps out at you and you want to ask a question, you can ask a question, but I will exclude the lady in the blue shirt up here because she can ask a ton of questions, and I got to really watch how many questions she asks. But if there's something that I'm going along and you want to ask a question or something, feel free to stop me, and then at the end of it, we can have a few minutes of questions and answers. So this is the 2025 presentation. This is my 5th year as the mayor, so I did my first 4-year term and then started my second term, so 5th year as the mayor. If you think about, we've got an inauguration going on here soon, and they talk about what's going to happen in the first 100 days. What kind of changes are going to be made? Well, I had all these grandiose ideas when I took over as mayor, taking over from a mayor who'd been there for a long time. And I said, well, we got to get all these things in place right away. But then, a couple of things happened pretty much in that first year. We had, you might recall, a lot of riots. We had a lot going on in downtown Cincinnati and around our region. The first time we passed a curfew, one of the first things that I got indoctrinated to as the mayor was, we need to do a curfew in the city of Norwood. Never had a curfew in World War I, World War II, any other time. We had to put a curfew in place because the rioters were saying, hey, if we can't do it down here, we're going to go to this city. So we put curfews in place and took care of that stuff. The other thing that happened is this little thing called COVID. Within me getting started as mayor, so we had to work through all of those things. So that put that really slowed down what I figured was good progress for the city of Norwood. So I had to put the building blocks for success in place. With the mayor that we had, they were in a very lean operation. They went through some very lean times. They really didn't rebuild the staff. They didn't have the staff to move the city forward in the way that I felt it should be and the way that the community told me it should be as I was running and standing on porches. So creating and building municipal operations to be successful. You can't do street projects if you don't have the people. You can't make improvements in the city if you don't have people to move those forward. As the mayor, one person cannot do it all. So I started putting good people in place. I got a good interim safety service director who was a chief previously, who had a good background in municipal government, knew what Norwood needed. That opened up the door for us to do the hiring and get a safety service director that we have right now. Noah Powers is exceptional, so highly overqualified compared to the previous safety service directors, and it shows. We brought on an HR director, we have a community development director. We brought on Alloy, which is the Hamilton County Development Corp. We brought them on as partners to work with us with economic development. So we made a lot of good progress in those first few years. One of the things that I sort of push is constantly coaching, constantly with the staff, working with them. And when I say working with them working with me. Now we have a Wednesday morning meetings, typically with the safety service director and the HR director. And there's so many times where I'm sitting there and we're talking about something and it's an aha moment for me. I'm like, that's why we do it that way. That's why it's so good to have that back and forth and to learn. I love learning. I think life is all about learning as you go. And I learned so much from the staff that we hired up, which is really great. So actually this previous says the future is bright with a question mark. Because when you take on the role as mayor after 16 years of a different mayor, it's a little nerve-wracking. But the future is bright, absolutely, 100%. And I'm going to go through some of these: economic development, community planning development, infrastructure, and some of the recreation quality of life. There was a person that came to a council meeting last, 2 council meetings ago or something, and they said, there's not much communication, and it doesn't seem like the council members are doing very much. They get presented things and they just vote them on through, and there's nothing going. That person could not be any further from wrong. Council members are constantly holding meetings. They're constantly talking to people. There is constant work with our administration. There's constant work with the Planning Commission, with the Board of Zoning Appeals. There is so much going on. This person doesn't understand it. They showed up one council meeting, they had a drum they were going to beat, and then they went back home. But there is so much work that is being done every day in the city of Norwood to make the things that you see happening happen. Community, legacy business employer United Dairy Farmers, $24.5 million. They still have part of Montgomery Road closed off while they're doing that work. Interestingly enough, they took a big portion, a middle part of their manufacturing. They opened it back up, and what's really interesting, there was a building that was there, within their building, that was there that was just basically built over top of, and they were running things through and they'd store stuff, but now they opened it up and they took big frame timbers out of there. And actually I think it was Brad Ledner wanted to get those timbers and use it for something. You see the barn raising shows and all that, but I don't think the timbers were in that good of condition. But a $24.5 million investment. Sherman Oaks, the multifamily, this is on the old Fun Factory property down on Sherman Avenue, which used to be the bread factory, but it's sat vacant for 14 years. We got 108 units going in there. A lot of discussion with council members, a lot of discussion with the city's administration to make sure this goes the right way. And the interesting part is by including a small parkette and access to Millcrest Park. That's an interesting part, and I'll try to remember to get back to that as we get into other slides. Uptown Properties has received favorable guidance on developing the western portion of the Pond Realty lot. This is right there at Walson Way. And a lot of you realize that originally They said, we're going to put a car lot in here. We want to move the Volkswagen dealership right here. And we're going to do this. And that wasn't what the community members really wanted to see right there in that place. So they got a lot of direction on what could be done. There were some deals worked out to make things happen. And now there's going to be multifamily containing 205 units with some retail on the front, with some nice landscaping and different things. So that'll be a nice development. And then one of the other ones, the Skin by Brownlee, is a beauty hub that was put in on Montgomery Road. It is right across from the library. And it's a building that it was starting to really look aged and not very good. But they've made an investment there, brought her business to the city, and it's a really nice addition. Oh, what the? Somebody's messing with my thing. This is not the right picture for this slide, but it's a good-looking family. That's Georgie and that's Gus, right? Huh. But so we're going to talk about long-term community planning. Oh, okay, there's the right slide. I don't know how that slide got in there. But long-term assist the developer in navigating building permits for Allison with the redesign. This is the old Allison School, which was Central High School. There was another building connected here. This was built in 1896. So actually 6 years after the building on Floral that we just heard about, this school was built. And what's going in here is, I think, 21 condos. He could have tore the whole thing down. The Ventura Group could have just tore the whole thing down, but they kept this. I think they're putting 21 condos in here, and then this will be like 17 townhouses that are going to be built in that area. This is a challenge for the city, and this is another area where the city has to constantly put things in place, think proactively and not reactively. We're looking at that water line that runs down the street that feeds this. It's a 4-inch water main. It's been there a long time. That water main will get changed to an 8-inch water main going out to Montgomery Road right there by the library. That'll all get changed. And as I think about this is Clint Zimmerman and Noah talking about what should we be doing? How should we? And even the fire department's like, we've got to upgrade all these mains. Think about what's going on out in California. They don't have the amount of water they need to fight fires in certain areas. So we've got to make sure we're protecting and putting the infrastructure in place, and that just adds to it. It's any of you that live or have owned an older house, you do one thing and you end up doing 3 other things because you have to fix these other things. That's sort of what we do here. This city has been here for a long time. So we're constantly, when we fix one thing, we've got to fix 2 other things to make this one right. But we'll repave that street and put a new water line in there. We've talked about, maybe I didn't talk about it, but I'll talk about it now. Right now, the city is sitting pretty good financially. We had a pretty major carryover of funds this year. And when I say major, over $10 million. The city of Norwood has not had a carryover the way that it is right now since probably before the actual General Motors days, when we were fat and happy. And we're doing exceptionally well. We've got to do it right now, and we're laying plans to make sure we do it right. But on this, even like water lines, things that we're doing, we're not just saying, well, we got $1 million, we need a new water line, just put a new water line in. We're working with the Ohio EPA. We're working with to get grants and get loans and try to do it the right way. Utilize that money in the best manner possible. This is the assist with the planning and the review of the Factory 52. I don't know how many of you, I'm sure all of you have been to Factory 52. I was there last night, pretty good time. We left early, don't worry. But Factory 52 is the big development. It was a playing card company site. Now remember, the playing card company had moved out of there. The building was sitting there vacant. The windows were getting broke out. They filmed a movie there because they liked how tore up it was and they could do whatever. They set off explosions inside and stuff. So that could have stayed there, realistically. It could have sat there vacant for 15 or 20 years because it's brownfield. It was an industrial site. So what do they do at industrial sites after 100 years? Yeah, somewhere along the line of jars and gallons of this got dumped, or shavings got, lead shavings got. So it had to be cleaned up, and we were very lucky that PLK came in, put the money down, cleaned it up, and now we've got a thriving operation. And they're doing it quickly. They've moved so quickly. 5 years. I've been the mayor for 5 years, and you go over there and look at it and like, oh my gosh, this was dirt. It was it wasn't even dirt at that point. It was bricks and 4-story buildings. Then they took it down to dirt. And now you look at what, and this is the other part. We talked about we've got to do this quickly. This is the PLK, and this is the Factory 52 site. This is our competition. All this development was going in. 20 years ago, when Rookwood was being put in place, there was a big challenge with some homeowners not selling their property, and it delayed the project and delayed the project. Right or wrong, it delayed the project. At that time, we had it set up where some of them that were going to go in there is Cheesecake Factory. Cheesecake Factory was going to come to Norwood, Ohio. Well, it didn't work. They ended up going up to Kenwood, right? And whether you love or hate Cheesecake Factory, we were pretty excited about that 20 years ago when I was involved in this stuff. But we let it slip by. And we could have let a lot of this slip by into this. But we moved forward as a city, and we said, this is what's going to be good for us. Am I pacing too much for you, Tyler? Am I moving around too much?
That's about right.
You said I'm okay. All right. So then, this is another part as you look at the triangle that's shown the triangle over there. I guess I could use this little pointer, couldn't I? But this is what's going in. This is sort of the sum of it. Right in the middle of all this happening, right? So this building is multicolor, is the old multicolor building. Right in the middle of all of this going on, they shut down. And when they shut down, people came to me and said, hey, we need to put a PUD over that. We need to fix the zoning. We need to do all. I said, no, it's zoned the way it should be. My thoughts as the mayor, keep it as a business. Let's get a new business in there. Let's get jobs in our community. We don't really need to do anything right now. Let's see how things shake out. Now, PLK, with their deep pockets, they were able to purchase this. They wanted to add it on. They saw the potential. They wanted to add on to it, so they came to the city with plans. My view as the mayor is I'm not going to stop progress. I would have liked for a company to come in here, and I'd like for it to be 300 jobs right there in the city of Norwood, so you can live in the city of Norwood and walk to your job. But I'm not going to stop what they're trying to do. And they basically went in that part of the building and said, this is multicolor. They did ink. They manufactured with ink, and that whole building smelled like ink. And it was built like you build them in 1930, getting ready for World War II, which is, if you look at some of the factories around Cincinnati and around Norwood, they were built, this is all PWA and the Public Works during the FDR time. Right after. And that's a lot of these buildings, when you look at them, they're like, oh, these things are built like, oh, they're incredible. Well, a lot of it was federal funds, and they were putting buildings in place because they knew we were getting ready to go potentially to war. Well, this building was built like that, and they couldn't do much with it. It's not like with Mr. Ventura over there at the school, you can condo that out, but you couldn't condo this out because of the way it was built. So it's been taken down. And you will see townhouses going in here. I can't read the total amount. Noah, you know the amount of townhouses in there? It's like, yeah, it's somewhere around there. So you're going to see townhouses. And then this is an old parking lot that was sitting there. And this is on the other side, the south side of Robertson. And they've got plans for that to put some living in there. So it's going to be interesting. We're hearing some pushback on this right now because, of course, the people who live around this, there have been trees. It's just forested up, and of course, you want to have some trees in your backyard. But this area is going to be developed. It's zoned residential right now, so we'll see what plan they come to. They came to us with the plan, and we weren't real happy with it. So they're still sort of reworking that, and we don't know when that'll happen. But it's pretty much assured that it's going to happen. Yeah.
Can you tell me townhouses? When you say townhouses, you mean people can actually have a mortgage and buy a townhouse. It's not an apartment building. Because it's nice to have people who have a mortgage and want to stay here, not just people who sign a lease for an apartment for 1 year. They don't care what happens with the community. They're going to move in here.
Yeah, I think this whole section here is still going to be, I think, connected to all of that, and will be rental units. There'll be townhouse rental units with 2 garages and all that, and I think that's the same there. But the plans are not finalized as far as I know. To make it into a condo community and sell these, you've got to have a certain density. Typically, if you have 75 condo units, it's sort of hard to make that fly, but just from a maintenance and management standpoint of it. So, well, I mean, typically you want to have 100 and 150 because, and when I say make that fly, if you're thinking about a condo communities have assessments. And each year, the members of a condo community, the community association that live in a condo community, pay that assessment. And that assessment pays for the maintenance. That assessment would pay typically for all the exterior things on the building. So the roofs and sidewalks and pavement and all those things. So you're paying into a maintenance fund. So there's a little bit different way that those things are done. But you have to have so many to.
I'd just rather have more people buying their place so that they are invested. Like when they're just keep building apartments, I'm afraid, well, what if in 20 years those apartments, they find out they're growing old or something and they just kind of stop living in them and you're just sitting there.
Yeah, there's ways to speculate about any way that a project could go wrong. Yeah.
Have you heard anything direct from PLK about if they plan on doing any refurbishments to Doral Field? We had heard rumblings in that direction, but I don't know if that figures into their plans or their community engagement for this expansion.
Doral Field is parkland owned by the city.
Right.
So PLK can't do anything until the city approves anything that happens there. There was a request put in to improve some parking and do some improvements around the periphery of Doral Field to make it more usable. But we don't have anything. There was funding that Greg Landsman had put in. That's actually some plans, but it didn't come through yet. It's federal, so even then we'll have to figure out. But yeah, I'm not sure how that'll happen or when it'll happen. But it's part of, when you talk about this whole area, when it was a factory, they had 3 shifts working or they had 2 shifts working and people were coming in at a shift and there'd be a ton of traffic and then it'd die back off and it was just big trucks. And that's one of the things, you'd have big semis going in and out through these paths. You don't have the semis per se anymore, but you have more of a constant flow of traffic, constant flow of people going in and out. So there's traffic studies and work that still needs to be done to make sure that all of that flow and everything works. Even coming across the bridge here, there's some improvements that we want to make going across the bridge and potentially. So we'll see what happens. It's not, people like to think like it's all set in stone and it's not, but they're still pretty fluid on some of these things. Okay, so Montgomery Road traffic calming and sidewalk improvements are going on in 2025. Right now, the focus is going to be basically from the Norwood lateral over to Monroe. So Monroe would be where Chipotle is on Montgomery Road if you come out to that part or in that area. So there will be traffic lanes. It's a traffic diet, a diet to the lanes. We're going to shrink things down, quite frankly. Instead of you walking across 7, 8 lanes of traffic to get across the street or riding your bike across it, there'll be bump outs, there'll be landscape improvements, all of that type of stuff. And then, we already talked about the multicolor stuff. This was a slide from last year, right? 2024 goals. And you can see what my slide at that time said, reactivation. Well, it didn't go that way. So renovation, remediation, 328,000 square feet. That's a lot. This is a little bit more about the street improvements. One of the things that I'm really happy about with that whole area, what I consider to be like sort of the A block of Norwood, from City Hall over to Walgreens, it has always had the lights on the other side, the traffic, or not the traffic lights, but the street lights, and there's a pole. It seems like every 10 feet there's a street light pole sticking up. We're getting rid of those street light poles. We're going to minimize how many are needed by utilizing LED, which is a much cleaner, better light that we're using. We'll be doing landscape, putting new trees in and landscape across them. Donna Lake was at the chamber meeting with the tree board talking about some innovative ways to make sure that these trees, the tree wells, and she had sent this to me for a while ago, and I think I sent it to the engineering, but I'm not sure. But when I'm finished, but It's set up where actually some of the rainwater, instead of just putting a tree well there, it diverts some of the curb rainwater, the storm water that's going off, to make sure that those are getting watered properly. So there's some really interesting ideas in that area that are being implemented. We've got right there at Surrey Square, we've got two of the most used bus stops in all of Hamilton County, and we're working with SORTA to make sure that we get maybe something a little bit nicer in those two. I mean, the last thing you want to do is drive down Montgomery Road and see somebody's flipped over a shopping cart and they're sitting on it because there's really no bench, there's no place to sit. And you know, it's really a shame when that happens. We've asked SORTA to improve our our bus stops up and down Montgomery Road all the way through Norwood. And you guys remember, you passed a tax, right? Transportation tax. We're getting our share of that. We're pushing to make sure that SORTA is spending some of that tax money, our money, the money we back to us, for the improvement project. I think we said it was over, was it $1,300,000 or? For all the project on Montgomery Road, from that sort of funding, about $3 million. I should use $3 million. That's a lot of money. I mean, and that's money, that's not general fund money. That's tax money that's being generated all around Hamilton County because they know the City of Norwood's the heart of it all, right? Okay. What the? Who's that guy? How'd that slide get in there? Oh, yeah. Ron, did you mess with my thing here, Ron? What's going on? All right, well, look, it's just implanted in there too, Ron. How'd you do that? Okay, so street improvements. I call this the crosstown connector, but this is 561, State Route 561, which is Smith Road and Carthage, right? So it cuts sort of an X across through here. You know, this is the lateral, right? This is the lateral. Sorry, Steve or Tyler, I'll stop moving around so much. This is the lateral running through the heart of Norwood. This is sort of that crosstown. This has all been repaved. We've got Lincoln, Ralston, and South Jefferson that'll be completed. So we continue our process of we've got to get the main thoroughfares looking good and flowing properly, because if they are flowing properly, if the lights are the signal lights and everything's working right, people will not take shortcuts back through our residential streets. They'll stay off our residential streets. They'll use the thoroughfares that are there. This section of Smith is so much smoother than trying to run across 1, 2, 3 stop signs and all the different stuff there. So that's one part we said we're going to do. The other part we said is we've got to mix it up. So we're doing streets in different areas of the city. So if you look at Ralston's over this way in Norwood, right? South Jefferson's over here. Ralston's up here. I'm sorry. You were probably like, that's not there, Victor. What are you doing? It's up here, and then Lincoln's over here. And we're trying to spread out spread the wealth out, because everybody in this city has lived on a street, a residential street, that really hasn't been repaved in 40 years. I hear all the time people saying, I've lived here for 50 years and they've never done a daggone thing to this street other than, clean it off a little bit. So we're trying to make sure we do that. We're going to continue with that. We're going to continue with our improvements on paving improvements. And people talk about, I hate to just skip over it, pothole repairs. Our Public Works Department 5 years ago didn't have the equipment that they have now for potholes. We have a heated trailer, so when they put the hot patch in at the founder at the plant, right, that heated trailer, we can park that thing overnight and actually plug it in. It'll keep that stuff pliable so we can go out and fill potholes. And I know there's a lot of potholes right now. When you have big storms like this, what do you think those snow plows do? They dig up the cracked up material. So there's a lot of work for them to do, but we've given them the tools to do it, and they're doing it right when they do it. Here's the water system improvements. Remote water reading installation. So you don't have a water meter reader that comes to your door and uses the key. He had a key ring that was like this big, and he'd go and jiggle and go into your basement and then read the right. With COVID, that really didn't work. So we've got that system in place. That was a big improvement. Actually, 20 years ago, I was working on that trying to get to where it was radio read, and then it didn't work. It's taken a long time for me to get back in the mayor's seat to make some of these things happen, but it's being done now. Let's go back one, I'm sorry. Completion of EPA mandated water improvements, water system flow and pressure improvements, and removal of the water towers that were put in there in probably 1910. So those water towers are offline now. They'll be removed. And then this is a big one. Pilot program to utilize grant funding for removal of lead line connectors. This is an area where the Ohio EPA, the director of the Ohio EPA came into the city of Norwood. She wanted to meet with Clint Zimmerman, our superintendent of public works, the purveyor of our water system, and with Noah and myself to say, hey, you guys are doing a great job. How are you making this happen? What are you doing that we can maybe duplicate all over the state to get rid of these lead line connections? So Clint has worked with them, and there's some systems in place that really should be called the Norwood systems that are going to be implemented all over Cleveland, Toledo, everywhere, because of the good work that Clint and our crew have done. So I think Clint can probably hear you. So we're going to continue doing that. We're going to continue monitoring and making sure we do it right. Stormwater system improvements, and I know I got a big clock right there, so I know I'm not at that 2-hour mark yet, but you guys tell me. If it's getting boring, really tell me. Elm Avenue flood mitigation project. This is a this is a flooding area that has plagued our community for 50 or 60 years. It has been a long time that we've had flooding occur in that area. We found a solution. We started working the solution. We really got to a point a couple of months ago where we were like, we just don't, the contract is too much. We don't have the money. We went back to Hamilton County, to the Hamilton County commissioners. Noah went back to them saying, hey, we need this much more. What can we do? Luckily, another community couldn't use some of the funds that Hamilton County had for these type of improvements, and they were able to bump it up even more. So $2,300,000 going in. For the city of Norwood, we're at about $1 million ourselves of our funds into it. Okay, that's okay. We're okay. We planned on that. But this is getting rid of something that's been going on multiple decades, underlined and capitalized, multiple decades, and we're gonna do that. We have started right now working on the utility easements, working with the community members to get utility easements. We've got a contractor that it's went out to bid. We've got the contractor. We don't have the contract signed, but this should be completed in 2025. This is one of the projects that I, as the mayor, I don't make promises. I didn't go out and stand on people's porches and say, I promise you I'll get this done. This is one of the things that I said when I came on as the mayor. I said, I've got to work to get this done. We've got to fix this for these members of our community, for all our community. And this is something that I really feel like is necessary and will have a significant improvement of quality of life in the city of Norwood. This is another one. This is my second. This is my number 2 that I've challenged myself on. Years ago, Donna Lake will say years ago, she started working on trying to get control of the train tracks, the train line that runs. It's hard to see, but this is Xavier, of course. This is their parking lot. If you went to a game, you probably parked in the parking lot or even that. This is the bike path that they already have in place that runs over, and now they're connecting to Wasson Way, right? It's got that we're going to have. I haven't even touched on that, but Noah worked with the city of Cincinnati, and the connection that's going to go across Montgomery Road for Wasson Way is in the works. When will that project be?
They have bid that should be starting this month or next month.
So in the spring. If you've gotten on Wasson Way and ridden over to Madison Road, you see how I always thought, like, how are they going to connect that back behind Brookwood and they connect it? But it's worked out really well. They signalized it and they put, and I've went through there many, many times where there are bikes and everything seems to be working fine. So I'm pretty confident that this Wasson Way connection is going to work. We've got the City of Norwood. We are working with Norfolk Southern. It's the train company. It's the railroad company. They're a little bit more, it takes a little bit longer. Noah continues to stay in touch with them, and we'll continue to do it. They're not using this. There's nothing going on there. So this runs across and then goes over Hopkins Avenue. That's the big train trestle that's up top. We got some vision, some plans for that, maybe making it like a covered bridge, an old covered bridge type thing. So it could be really a neat something. And then continuing on across to Lower Millcrest and Upper Millcrest Park. So that's a big chunk. If we can get control of those tracks, and you have to get the control, they have to be yours. They have to be, years ago we could get them, but they wouldn't actually turn them over. They'd give them to us and we could make improvements, but if they ever wanted them back, then they could take them back, with 12 months notice or something. Well, you can't get grants and you can't get loans on a deal like that because nobody wants to give you, $100,000 to improve that and take the train tracks out and then find out the next year that they decided they're going to do light rail or something and somehow they're going to use it. So we're trying to get control of this. These tracks run out, the property runs out of the city of Norwood and over to Reading Road and then across Tennessee Avenue. And they're trying to sell all that together as one piece to us, which includes not just the train trestle over Hopkins, but the train trestle over Reading and the train trestle over Tennessee. And we're not real savvy on taking over those two other train trestles. But we might have to, and then we'll figure out what we do from there. I think, the Rails to Trails, and there's all sorts of different organizations that will get involved once we get control of it. So if we can make that happen, that'll be a big one. How'd this one get in there? So, why work so hard? These pictures, we work hard for our families, right? We work hard because of this community and the families that are in the community. We work hard for the citizens that have lived here for a while and are staying here and investing their time and treasure in the community. I think that's sort of the guiding principle of what I look at is like, this is just a great community. It's a great community to raise your kids in. It's a great community to be a member of. So, there's all sorts of reasons. Recreation, I'm going to go into that just real quickly, and I'm really close to the end here. Recreation is vital for everyone at every age and every level of ability as it promotes physical health, enhances mental well-being, fosters social connection, and provides opportunities for personal growth and fulfillment. So that's a quote from our recreation director, Mike Gabbard. Well, or maybe somebody smart like Mike. But it holds absolutely true. And, the other saying that you throw in there is like, if you don't put some time in to take care of yourself right now and exercise and treat yourself, then you better get ready and put some time to be sick and be ill and not happy. So you're better off to do that. We purchased the old YMCA building in the city of Norwood for $1. There were a couple of council members, and no council members in here right now, but a couple of council members that really pushed that deal forward. Actually, Mike Gabbard was a council member at that time, pushed it forward. The city's invested a lot of time in making sure that that's a top-notch facility, and it really is for what we have in Norwood. The recreation improvements, the membership facility that hosts different ways to meet your exercise needs, full court gymnasium, full workout facility, free weights, circuit machines, water workouts such as water aerobics, lap doors, year-round water activities. Really nice swim pool in there. Year-round, we've got have you been to Waterworks pool? It's beautiful. This year with Coney Island shutting down, we thought, we'll be overwhelmed. We weren't overwhelmed. We ran that thing pretty darn good this year, so it went well. Adult youth sports leagues. So I had friends that came in from out of town, and we wanted to play some pickleball, but we don't have memberships. I don't play pickleball at the Aces over there. I don't have memberships. And we contacted the recreation director and said, can we use the indoor gymnasium for the pickleball because they have the nets set up? And he said, sure, come on over. 8 o'clock, when we played pickleball in there, we had a great time. And this is something that is an option to businesses and an option to families and members. They're very accommodating when we're trying to keep things going in the right direction. And then recreation improvements also. The community center, please. Got a question? Yeah.
I know Mike's not here, but if you could pass it along, we're going to have a severe need for like daycare facilities coming out of the rec center, at least before and after school care, because the before and after school care that we have is funded by the federal government, which the incoming administration is really focused on cutting all that stuff. So we're gonna lose all our before and after care, all our after school clubs. And before the rec center and before we had those federal monies, the YMCA didn't provide that service. And I know we're not the YMCA, so I have no idea what the feasibility of that is. But if we could just put that little seed in there that this is going to be a huge need very, very soon.
Well, I think aftercare, daycare, school, those are all needs that are necessary. I mean, you heard her, everybody in this room heard her. So when you talk to Mike Gabbard, make sure he's aware that maybe that's something.
What time in the morning does that need to start?
Well, that's the logistics. That's not part of the presentation here, man. We're gonna work on logistics of when a daycare should start. I mean, ultimately, there's a lot that goes into having a daycare and running a daycare. But I'm not saying that Mike would be against it or city council members. We need to look at that. That might be a good use.
Check it out.
Yeah. So, we're talking right now about the community center, senior center. This was rebooted, right? So we had a change we had a person who had been running with the senior organization for years and years, and she retired. And when we did that, we sort of rebooted it and we had to close it down. We cleaned up everything, and we've rebooted our senior stuff. Our recreation director, the head of our recreation department, Mike Gabbard, is now overseeing that part and overseeing this building and everything. It used to be that person reported to the safety service director. The right way was to have a structure in place to make sure that we could go in a little bit of a different direction. So renovated the senior center office, senior lounge. June 5th had the grand opening. Right now they have about 40 seniors for the weekly lunches. They're doing trips, running around, doing to the mall and different things like that. So I've gotten great response from people that say that the reboot of the senior stuff has really been magnificent. Within this building, we had, and this is something where city, I'll go back to that. The city property maintenance and repair, these are items that the project manager, Darren Hackworth, has been working on. And you can see there's just a ton of stuff going on. I mean, new gutters and downspouts, it's a safety lane. Waterworks pool, new concrete installed on the east side. The police academy, which has been reactivated during my administration, is really a great training center that's utilized quite a bit. Not just by the City of Norwood Police Department, but Hamilton County regional police departments are using it and being recertified and things, so very good. And then Lower Millcrest has new Parks Playground and zip line installed, teamed up with the Gem of the Highlands group. So if you're running that race, and I don't know, maybe Norwood Together put some money in on that too, I'm not sure, but there's a zip line, not for you older adults, but for some of the younger ones, I guess. So a lot of projects going on there. Operational improvements, this is a slide that Noah helped me out with. Noah is the president of the Center for Local Government organization, which is sort of a trade organization for municipal governments. And Noah's the president of that, and they actually hold an academy. We had 2 more employees go through that, so we've got 4 that have went through that. Adoption of the VIP analytics, which is software systems, brought on new advisors for benefit management, and a 5% healthcare increase. 5% is all we got this time. We've seen that healthcare increase at 15%. We've seen that healthcare increase huge. We've done a lot of things, a lot of improvements to get that down to where it is. We're working with enterprise fleet management, trying to make sure that our vehicles are newer, updated. What we're doing, instead of buying a vehicle and running it for 15 years, and quite frankly, the last 5 or 8 years, it looked terrible and represented the city terribly and didn't run right. We're moving vehicles in and out a little bit more efficiently, effectively, basically trading them in when they have some trade-in value to upgrade and move to the next thing. And then improving our CRA ordinances and things like that. Seems simple and straightforward, right? So I talk about running the city like a business as much as possible. I started to talk about in this building. In this building, we had rooms that were filled, literally filled with junk. Because it's a city, it's a community, and you can't just throw things away. So when they got a new printer, they'd put it over in the corner. When they had to get a new copier that was this big, they rolled it into the corner. They didn't get rid of things. So we've worked on, we utilized the Hamilton County Auction website, and we got rid of junk, and we emptied out rooms. And then it got to the point where we're like, well, now what are we going to do with those rooms? So we worked out a deal with one of the schools, one of the schools that was right up the street, right? So they lease from us now, which helps, guess what it does? It helps offset the cost of running this building. And we're to a point where it's almost self-sufficient. And with all the different organizations and things that are going on here, it is actually running the city like a business as much as possible. So providing the staff with what they need to be successful. I talked a little bit about the blacktop trailer, hot patch trailer, giving them clear direction, setting goals and monitoring the progress. Always be on the lookout for a teaching or learning moment. Recognize them. I talked a little bit about some of my meetings with staff where they tell me this is how it works. I'm like, those are good times. I really enjoyed those. Trust the people have the best intentions. Be cautiously optimistic and trust your instincts. That is a hard one to do at times in organizations like this. It's very hard to be cautiously optimistic. What's the ulterior motive? What are they trying to accomplish? And then trusting your instincts. In the environment that we work in the political environment, you're trying to get things done. It's hard at times, but this is something that we tell people and tell the staff, cautiously optimistic. Let's try to meet the needs of people. And then this one, all ideas are good ideas. Not all ideas are good ideas. People come to me with ideas all the time. The most harebrained ideas, and you think like, there's no way we could ever implement that. But then sometimes they might be right. My ideas sometimes are harebrained. They might be right. So we've got to keep a constant sort of open mind to that, and then work through the process. And then keeping your chin up, because some people present constructive criticism in the worst way possible. And we all know that. We all have friends and family members that probably do that too. So those are big parts. As a business owner, Norwood's a perfect environment for growth. Strategic location, infrastructure, qualified workforce, a customer base, city leadership committed to fostering innovation and supporting investment. Norwood offers all the essential tools needed for success. That holds absolutely true for all those business owners I was standing in front of, but that absolutely holds true for all of our community members. Norwood is a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to work. And that really it's the strength of Norwood with the people. We've got city staff that do a great job, that really put the time and effort into it. They've dedicated their lives to making sure the city of Norwood is successful. And then we've got community members like you guys. We're blessed with so many individuals who volunteer their time and treasure. We really are. I mean, I get in front of people all the time, and you hear stories about what an individual did, and they're not asking for anything other than just the satisfaction that it gives them. And it's incredible, the amount of charity that goes on in our community, quite frankly, in our world, but in our community, I think we're doubly blessed because we've got so many good people that are willing to step up. So you can't see it, but thank you, Mayor Victor Schneider. That's the end of it. Hope it didn't take too long. Any questions? Anything that jumps out at me? You want me to go back to the slide with Ron? Yes, Lois.
Mr. Mayor, I know you're out of time, but in 20 words or less, can you tell us that we're still hassling with the state auditor's office? And how long has that been going on? How long is it going to continue?
The city of Norwood is still listed as being in a fiscal emergency. And we will continue until the state auditor's office feels that we've met every one of their demands and they've tested every one of the policies and procedures that we've put in place. So we've pushed them I pushed the state auditor's office pretty hard to let us out of that. But it's going to be, it's just a matter of time. I think one of the things that we've changed in the past, our thought process here recently, is we need to sort of we are in a the better shape than we've ever been financially, better, that I ever know for the city of Norwood. We're in better financial shape than we've ever been in all the times. And I think what the state auditor's office says is this your standard way of doing business now? Are you going to keep accounting this way and putting together 5-year forecasts and doing all these things? I've committed to doing that, but I don't know that they really recognize that fully. So if we normalize, and we're looking at saying, well, let's normalize some of the things that we're doing that have gotten us where we are. We made a lot of changes. I mean, previous councils made a lot of changes to get us where we are. We didn't have a hotel tax years ago. We've got a hotel tax in place now that brings in $200,000 a year. We could have did that, previously, but there's different things that we've put in place. So we're still in it. Should we be in it? Not, in my opinion, absolutely not. Has it been helpful through these years, putting in place, and prioritizing certain things? Absolutely. But it's time to move forward from there. Yes. Does that answer your question? Sorry. Maybe I went too long on that one too.
Did you make an estimate of how much longer you'll be in the fiscal emergency, and what happens next? You're just on your own, or how's it work?
I'd like to be out of it next month. There's a meeting coming. There's a meeting coming up next. It was never set up to be, since 2016, and we're going to be in this thing forever. It was typically the state auditor's office is involved for a year or two, and then they're back out the door. So we've been in longer than, and I don't know if they're trying to set a record. When you talk to them, they'll say, we don't want a separation. We want an absolute divorce. They never want to come back to the city of Norwood. They want us to have the policies and procedures in place and a historical, this is how we're going to do it for years to come. So I couldn't give you that date and time. Ultimately, the state auditor's office has some rules and regulations they have to go by to test. As we put these things in, it has to test, and that's sort of what we're still working with them on. They have been really a great resource for us, but that resource it's time to move on, and it's time for us to really continue the processes that are there and go from there. Anything else? All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
Just before we go, can we just give Mayor Schneider one more hand? And Mayor Schneider, thank you for that wonderful presentation. I know that time is up, so I want to thank everyone for coming out and joining us tonight. And please, if you do have any questions, especially for, like I said, the Kingsleys, please visit our website, norwoodtogether.org, and you will be able to get some information from there. But thank you once again.